Hello. I was listening to James True the other day. I think it's live podcast. I think it's 401. Something to do with pan in the title. I can't actually remember now. He makes an interesting point, and it's a fair question, and I think it's one that needs to be looked at very carefully. And that is these North American tribes. How come they don't mention all these very sort of Greco-Romano style buildings, which from the perspective of the conspiracy theories and the emerging picture, that adds a lot of credence to this, that these buildings are far older than we've been told. So how come they're not mentioned? Well, for a start, if you have a structure to your life that you are basically nomadic because your food source is mobile, i.e. bison and buffalo, and you're basically pursuing grazing animals which are providing you with food and clothing and protection from the weather, that you're not really going to have a use for buildings that may have sat there derelict for, I don't know, decades, hundreds of years. So why would they mention them? It can be argued that there's talk about these mounds and how there's a consistent story amongst tribes that they didn't build them, they were built by these red-haired giants with 6 digits on each limb, double rows of teeth and red hair. But so why haven't they mentioned about the buildings? I mean, I'm no expert on this. I don't know how to even go about investigating this, because it's what you type in, and I'm limited to just being able to use the internet to try and answer this. So to try and find any information is near impossible. So I don't know if any of you know of any of these oral traditions that would mention these buildings, but perhaps not from a Western perspective. Now, the reason I say this is you've only got to look at the Old Testament of the Bible. It does not mention the Great Pyramid of Giza by name, although it does mention it. It is referred to as Mount Sinai. It is referred to as a pillar, this Great Pyramid of Giza. You've got the 2 pillars, the 2 mountains. This is further cited by Jason of Archaic's channel, and also Ralph Ellis. Mount Sinai is described as a mountain that will be difficult to climb, with sharp edges, that it could be cordoned off, and then there's this, it has a pavement at the bottom. So what mountain would have a pavement at the bottom? It certainly doesn't sound like something that's naturally formed in geology, but implies it to be a structure. And the Great Pyramid of Giza does fit this. The eastern side has this black basalt flooring. It was regarded as a holy place. That is Mount Sinai. So I'm wondering if any of you know of any of these oral traditions from the North American tribes that would perhaps mention these old buildings, but not in terms that we recognize. I have tried doing a YouTube search to try and bring up videos, and I put in Cherokee history, and I'm getting about there's basically a massacre genocide of Cherokees in this barbaric and inhumane real civil war that went on in North America, the genocide of people that were there before 1492. So that, I feel, is something that is worth looking into. But I'm appealing for anybody who has greater, more in-depth knowledge to try and find anything that possibly that would reference and confirm or deny this. Because it is a valid question to ask, why aren't they mentioned in any tribal things that I've certainly heard. I've not heard any channel or anybody else discuss this really. James True is the first one I've heard mention this. I like his channel because it is controversial, and controversial is like, oh, that's thought-provoking. But if I feel triggered by something, it doesn't matter whether I like what I'm hearing or not. It's like, if I'm feeling triggered, I need to do some internal work. Why am I being triggered by that? Is it because I have a belief in a concept of something and I'm not being open to being presented with something new that doesn't fit the belief I have about something? So I remain open to anything like that. And I feel that is a valid question. Something else that seems to be coming true is this resurgence in religions worldwide, and in particular Christianity. And it looks like we even have something that is a catalyst. On a local level, it is hugely catastrophic. It's not just human lives, it's all life. I'm referring to this East Palestine, Ohio freight train disaster. And regardless of the actual cause, incidentally, Rebecca, FindTheLight RB channel has just made a video on this. I would recommend you listen to that. And the implications out of this may be a huge catalyst that actually has a very much broader positive, but the cause, the initial cause of it, this is what I'm going to look at. I'm going to say I take some responsibility for this as part of a collective conscious, because regardless of what your perceptions are on this reality, I feel the majority seek and desire change in the way this world is, for all sorts of reasons, and very much dependent on where you are in the world as how you would perceive it. But generally, the collective consciousness would be seeking change. So I'm going to suggest that because the thinking or the desire was not crystal clear, it is manifested as this East Palestine, Ohio train crash. It's interesting that, or is it a coincidence, that it's a place named East Palestine? Make of that what you will. I know my thoughts on that, and I'm sure you have all your own ideas. To me, it's just another indication of this sort of matrix, this cyclical time in the playing out of events in the physical from the metaphysical. I feel that collectively humanity has brought this about. So it's a bittersweet pill, because the implications of this could be enormous, where this could go, what this could open up, and intertwined with this resurgence of religion. I can almost see this Southern Baptist Christian Reich, this golden age, all coming from this event, because the ecological aspect, the subsequent actions of the government of the USA, their actions will reveal a lot. The general public perception will be affected greatly by this. I know it sounds almost like a prediction, but this is what I see happening out of this. It certainly adds credence to Jason on Archaic's channel predictions for the USA. We're very close to the end of February, so we are very close to the start of the year 5917 Annus Mundi. We're still in 5916 at the moment. So March the 1st, maybe. Now you notice the star sign has changed on the 21st, but as I've shown on a previous video, 1582, 10 days were skipped, and then in 1752, 11 days were skipped, giving you 21 days. So it wouldn't be March the 21st, it would be March the 1st, because you have to allow and count in days to get a far more accurate perception of the way things are going to go. So this next week or two could be very, very interesting where this goes. But I feel it also highlights that individually, if our imagination and the manifestation from that is not absolutely clear, that it can come out slightly wrong sometimes. And on a collective level, I feel that's what is being shown on the world stage, as it were. Interesting times, and acknowledging the negative aspect of it, and on a local level, that's just horrendous. But then you have this, as Ken Wheeler's pointed out, you have this admission that they've set fire. It's always like almost predictably convenient. There's always a fire to try and get rid of something. Buildings, even brick and stone and iron, like Crystal Palace, can just be destroyed by a mysterious fire that I dispute what could generate enough heat to melt iron and steel and glass. And bricks. Bricks are baked, so it's totally illogical to think that they could melt unless it was with an intensity of like a laser, like a direct energy weapon, but then it wouldn't just be the brick, it would be everything around it. It would just become a molten mess of bands of colour that were sort of indistinguishable. But I feel we're in for some interesting times, and seeing both sides, I'm touched with sadness and I'm touched with excitement in one at what has happened. I feel almost like a shame or a guilt for taking part in this without. It's this collective consciousness, the clarity of that, I feel, is why it has come out as a disaster, but with the potential for something far more positive. We will see. So I'm going to say love to you all, and just see things for what they are, but weigh up both sides on things. because it takes the sting out of the negative and being back in the balance and being able to weigh these things up and not react but then respond and become more aware of our own individual thoughts and desires that we do put out into this interactive field, and the outplay of that and the implications of that outplay. I feel this is a beautiful reminder of that, to then take personal responsibility so we don't have micro versions of that happening as well. So I'm going to say love to you all, and I hope that hasn't caused you any negative feelings. I hope that it's brought you more into balance to see both sides. So love to you all, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.